Welcome to SCBWI Carolina's Book Fairies First Look. I'm your host, Mickey Bear. Today, I'm excited to welcome back New York Times bestselling children's author Joan Holub. Joan is the New York Times bestselling author of more than 220 books for children. Notables include her Goddess Girls middle grade series of 31 books and Heroes in Training series of 18 books written with Suzanne Williams. Joan's graphic novel, Fart Boy and Reeky Dog, garnered a starred review from Publishers Weekly. Other notables include her picture book, Zero the Hero, 10 books in the popular Who Was series, including Who Was Babe Ruth and What Were the Salem Witch Trials. She's the author of the This Little Trailblazer series, and her books have been named Junior Library Guild selections and Bank Street College's Best Children's Books of the Year, among other accolades. Additional notes include a mention in Oprah Magazine and this board book mention from Justice Sonia Sotomayor. I am confident that this little trailblazer, will inspire many young girls nationwide. Joan's sequel, graphic novel Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom, publishes on Tuesday, June 30th, 2026. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Mickey.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you again. I love getting to do interviews and getting updates from you. But before we get to the questions, let me tell everyone a little bit about the Fart Boy and Reeky Dog books.
Sure.
Fart Boy and Reeky Dog books are a humorous graphic novel series about a boy named Fartolomew who discovers his super smelly farts can be used as a superpower to fight evil. In Fart Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom, Fart Boy and his friends have found themselves in the midst of a dino-sized disaster. Thanks to a potent combination of garbanzo beans and peanuts, their collective farts have awakened ancient dinosaur bones on their overnight museum trip. Now, Fart Boy and his friends must solve a series of riddles to find the missing bones and restore order. If they fail, Professor Gravy Pants will hunt the dinosaurs for his evil fart schemes. Or worse, the kids will become the dinosaurs' next meal. My goodness. Okay, farts are funny. Tell me why you decided to focus on farts and where that fits in the kid lit arena.
I was not a big fart lover as a kid or as an adult, but I had family members that did silly things like they would go to I was at a store with them once and they went into a rack full of clothing and decided to fart in there when we were, younger. And I have a family member that's, you know, you would never suspect would be into like farts and stuff, but a lot of people, a lot of kids are interested or they just think they're funny. I mean, I don't necessarily think that they're funny, but I sort of, just worked around it and talked to kids that and family members that I don't know, do you have the say have you ever thought of writing about farts or do you have family members that
Well, I will tell you that when I was teaching, obviously that was one of those subjects that could crack up a whole classroom, and
yeah.
it was, very
I didn't know
popular
you
with the
were a
kids of any
teacher.
age. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it's all about getting kids to read and whatever it takes to make them laugh without being gross about it and just, trying to be funny and making adults silly. That's always a great, way to go. So we got Professor Groovy Pants that creates Fart Boy to begin with and some machine he made up. And so he's a silly character that, is just goofy and so, kids like it. So it's one of the things to like serial books like this. I came up with the idea of writing about a created character that a Spark Boy that kind of came out of nowhere, and he was adopted by a couple of adults. But then what do you do next? Because you come up with that first idea, and then the second one is like, and I don't have anything at that point, So I show it to an editor, and they're like, yeah, we like this, and do this, that, and the other, and then we'll see if it's a go, and if it is, and then they decide they like it and they want to get it, and they often want two books at that age group. And so they're like, "Oh, you got something else?" "Oh, yes, I do." I'm like, "Oh no, what am I going to come up with?" But I mean, you can't. Then you just go back and look at your first manuscript, and you pull things out, and you see things that are need to be built on, or that could be funny, or just like for instance, in the second book, the kids move from their school, they go to a museum where there are dinosaurs on display, and Fart Boy comes across an ancient book that he needs to fart, and he goes and he discovers this book, and he just kind of does it in that book, and the book is an ancient thing, and it brings the dinos to life. And so that starts the whole rolling thing of everything going kind of crazy.
Now, this is the second book in the series, and you've written quite a few series. What is it like to continue that overarching story for the series, but provide that new adventure for each installment? So you
Well,
kind
it's actually, I don't find it all that hard to sort of come up with the next book, because I don't know, it's just like already know, the characters at that point, and like what their problems are, and there's a mean kid in there, and there's a girl that likes Fart Boy, and he's oblivious, he doesn't really know it is. You do have to come up with those characters, and editors trust you. They just sort of think, at this point, when I've written that many books, they're like, "Oh, she knows what she's doing, she can do it." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't." But you just I think of what I think is funny, and I just kind of run with it. And I actually was going to kind of show you how I think a lot of people just write a manuscript. When I don't mean just write a manuscript, it's a big deal to write a manuscript, but I have to see it. And so even though I know I'm not going to illustrate or anything, this is the first Fart Boy right here, and I drew everything that was going to happen, and not like it wasn't like, "Here, author, copy this." It was I had to do it in order to see it and to see what was happening. This is the second book, the book Fart Boy and Reeky Dog, Dino Doom, and this is Rafael Rosado, who's amazing. I mean, he drew all this stuff, and the editor was having some trouble with how do you fit that dinosaur in there? How is it was kind of weird for a while. Like, how do you get him on the front page to, look like really good? And so, I have to draw it and I show it to a lot of my books, I'll show them to the editors, and I'm like, if the illustrator wants to use this, let them use whatever they want. And if they don't, they can just look away, and do their own thing. And usually they want to look at it, but not always. And it always is so much theirs. It's not mine at all. Because if you look at the Fart Boy 2 book, you can just see that it's, totally different. Yeah, well, this is, I guess, kind of the done thing. So that's what
of.
Raphael came up with. He's so good. I mean, everybody's good. I've never had like a really bad illustrator that I was mad at. When I first started out, I wanted to be an illustrator. And I did illustrate a few books, and I worked at Scholastic and sort of, got to know people there. But after a little bit, editors started saying, "We really like this idea. We like, where you're going, but could this other person illustrate it?" They tiptoed around it and everything. And I was like, "Whatever it takes." Hard to hear, because I thought I was an illustrator. That's where I was coming from. And I just wrote the books because I wanted my art to get out there. And so now I still draw stuff because it's how I have to work, but I'm fine with other people illustrating it. Because by the time I've written this whole book, I'm like, "Take it away from me," and I'll enjoy it when it comes out.
So
Wow.
Rafael Rosado, the illustrator, you're collaborating with him. You're giving him some of your sketches really on the front end. How does that collaboration work back and forth?
Well, I think publishers are very careful about they try to be a little bit between the two of you, so
Mhm.
that, because I think there are historically, I won't name any names, but some famous illustrators and authors who clashed in a nice series that was a problem. And so I think editors are careful about that, and so they don't ever say, "Hey, would you like to meet Rafael Rosado or go have coffee or whatever." I'm sure we could, but we've never crossed paths exactly. But we have on Instagram and stuff like that. We've sort of said some things like this, but we're not like telling each other, "What about, I was kind of wondering if you might, change this thing." I mean, that would not go over well, I'm sure. So I try to be careful.
So, how, as a writer, do you keep your readers interested in the series? Like, how do you motivate them to want the next book? Is it
It's I have to think it up. I mean, the editor's not going to give me any thoughts or ideas because they don't want to stick in the middle of what I come up with. So I just kind of come up with the bones of the storyline pretty quickly, and it takes me about 4 months to come up with those drafts of the book, and you show it to the publisher, and they have a lot to say about this, and so does Rafael. I would say that like the Liz character in that book is loosely based on me. She's kind of got a crush on Bart Boy, and I liked Boy. We all did when we were in school and that kind of thing. He's got a sidekick, Carl, that's goofy. That kind of, so you got the three triad. The Bart Boy, Carl, the sidekick, and then then her, Liz.
tell me more about your creative process. So, how do you come up with this perspective of this boy who kind of has the fart superpower, and he's the main character, and then all of these other characters? So, what is that creative process for you?
I think I don't. I'm from that our childhoods. If you can remain in contact with your childhood, and you still think things are, I don't think everything is funny. I'd say I was a fairly, serious person, not like hilarious or something. And yet I think my writing comes out as to be funnier than I am. It
So,
just comes to this book. I was gonna show you this later because this is one of my favorite picture books that I've done, Zero the Hero. And I was just walking through a store, and it just came to me, that whole thing. And then I brought that. I mean, I won't tell you like the whole story of that, but and that has Tom Lichtenheld illustrated that, who did Good Night Construction Site and all those. And that was, that's amazing when somebody like that, I just look up to him in awe. And then they're like, oh, he'll illustrate your book. And you're like, what? So yeah, that was pretty exciting. But yeah, that it can just like come like that. And I am one of those people that kind of keeps a pencil and a tablet or something, or by my bed or in the car. And sometimes I don't have it, and then you're thinking of this, and you're driving on the freeway, and you're like, should I get off the freeway so I can go write this down? But no, I want to get where I'm going. But some
yeah.
things like Zero the Hero just came out of nowhere, just flowed. I mean, it was a picture book. Those are a lot easier to do. And in that respect, I remember the publisher, I had, I showed it to him. I had drawn these pictures and stuff, and not there. I'm not a horrible drawer artist, but she said, you put so much into this. It looks, what do you think? Would you like to like try to do it yourself? And I was like, oh yeah, so I did it and showed it to her, and she's like, well, maybe not. It really wasn't that painful because if they, whatever works for the book, I'm really like that. I'm not gonna go home and cry because they didn't like something I
So,
did.
okay, you've written so many books. What do you do to refill that creativity? How do you relax, refuel, get different perspectives? Like, what do you do in your downtime?
I line dance. I'm a big time line dancer. Really, line dancing. I think because of TikTok, it came just has exploded in the past like maybe 2 years or something. I've been doing it maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, and I have a lot of friends. And it's really, I'm not thinking about work. I'm dancing. You're moving, your body's moving, and your blood's flowing. And there's various places you can go. They have huge arenas practically of line dance stuff, that you can participate in. And I've made so many friends doing that. And it really, really is helpful to have another group of friends, or, they know that I write stuff, and, occasionally they'll ask for a book or buy a book or something for me to sign. But other than that, they're not going to be talking about books. I can completely get away from that. So when you come back to it, you feel refreshed. Yeah, and I've never really had that fear. I guess some people do, but like, will there not be another book that I can't think of another idea? I mean, there's always something, right?
Yes. So, what is next for you?
I do have two things at different ends of the spectrum that I'm working on. One is a graphic novel, and one is like way back at my friend Suzanne Williams that I wrote the Goddess Girls series with, has like 31 books, which is that was way back at the beginning. I think that was kind of like we had both done stuff before that, but we got right a real boost because that has sold really well. And also the Heroes in Training series, I think that was like 18 books. And so we've got a young-ish project going, but that we've sent it to a publisher our agent has. And then on my own, I'm writing, I don't know, I don't really know what it is right now, I guess. You know how that is. So we'll kind of see.
So, how do we go online and keep in touch with all of your latest projects, find all of the books that you have out?
I'm on Instagram and I want to say fart face, but Facebook. I guess it's not
See, you're
it
just
doesn't
so
rhyme.
into that. Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, those are kind of like the two, Instagram and Facebook are pretty much what I stay on.
But you have a website too, right?
Yeah, yeah, I have a nice website that someone else designed for me, thank goodness. So yeah.
Well, Joan, thank you so much for joining me today on Book Fairy's First Look, and congratulations again on the
Thanks so
hilarious,
much.
if not smelly, release of Fart
Yes.
Boy and Reeky Dog Dino Doom.
Well, thank you for having me, Mickey. I appreciate it.